the Chavetz Chaim, we were discussing the importance of not speaking about other people. So he says that people become very enthusiastic, very excited about Segulot. People love Segulot. Segulah Parnassah, Segulot for Zivug. People say Parshat Aman. They put the key in the challah after Pesach. The Chavetz Chaim says the most powerful Segulah Parnassah is guarding your speech. Parshat Bo, it says that when they left Mitzrayim after Makat Bechorot, none of the dogs would bark. They guarded their mouth. What did Hashem reward them? That whenever you have telefoit, terefa, you have to go and throw it to the dogs. So the dogs, Hashem made it that they always are going to have Parnassah. So therefore, we learn from here that if you hold your mouth when you're supposed to, you don't say what you're supposed to not supposed to say, it's the biggest gula, they should always have Parnassah. So a person has to control himself, just like the dog didn't bark, we have to control ourselves from saying Lashon Hara. So last time we spoke about halakha, like you're not supposed to speak about a rabbi or a speaker. So too, a person about a business or a service or a product, right? For example, a person says, don't go to that store. That store is terrible. Or Haz v'Shalom, a person says, that company's food has no taste. Or a person says the clothing from that store, it's overpriced. It doesn't fit nice. The fit is weird. So if it's the to'elet, a person has a leniency if it's for constructive purposes, right? A person's asking you, oh, I know you use that company. You use that store. What do you think? So there's conditions for constructive purposes. If it's going to save a person a loss, right? He's going to suffer a loss. You're allowed to prevent it. But just to speak about it in general, when no one's planning on buying it and you're just talking for the sake of talking to make conversation, that 100% is asur. So a person has to make sure that he doesn't cause another business, especially if he's a Jew, to go and suffer because of the Lashon Hara you spoke. One of the conditions of at least speaking Lashon Hara to'elet is when you have a complaint. Let's say they served you the food cold, or the product you bought from this Jew is no good. Part of the conditions is that you have to go and speak to the guy first. You have to speak to the guy who owns the business, who owns the clothing store, who made the food, and speak to him first and say, why was it like this? You can't just go right away and give bad reviews to everybody outside. You have to first speak to the guy in order that he should change, and before you start spreading bad things about him. So therefore, it's a mitzvah, v'chai achicha imach. Your brother shall live amongst you, which means you have to support him. You have to make sure that he doesn't go out of business. But the person has to make sure not to just willy-nilly start speaking about other businesses. And it says the Chavetz Chaim, it amazes me, says the Chavetz Chaim, how people run to do various types of segulot to get Parnassah Tovah. They run to get brachot from tzaddikim. But he says, what value is it? What are you going to gain from all these segulot and all these brachot from tzaddikim that's supposed to bring bracha, but you're still doing Lashon Hara? Or you're still doing these averot, these sins, that cancel all this bracha. You could get the biggest bracha from the biggest tzaddik. You do the biggest gula every single day. That's supposed to bring you a certain bracha, but then the sins you do destroy the bracha that you brought to yourself. The sins undo whatever bracha this gula was supposed to bring. So therefore he says, what does it help to do all those nice things if you're still going to do Lashon Hara? So therefore a person has to make sure that he removes from himself Lashon Hara before he wants to do any zgulot. So a person has to make sure to pay attention to that. And he says a story. There was a broken man who came one time to his Rebbe. And he said, Rabbi, I have a daughter who's supposed to get married. And she's a marriageable age. She's getting older and older. And we didn't find her zivug. So the Rabbi asked him a weird question. He says, did you do kiddush? A kiddush, you sponsor kiddush for your daughter after she was born? And the man thought about it and he said, no. I remember it was a very hard time for me and I forgot to. I didn't. He says, your daughter, the Rebbe explained, your daughter missed out on all the blessings of Mazal Tov because they didn't say Mazal Tov to you in the shul like they were supposed to. So therefore, she didn't find Mazal. She didn't have Mazal to find her Bashert. So this Shabbat, go and make a kiddush for your daughter now, even though she's much older. And the merit of all these blessings of Mazal Tov that people will give you, so then she's going to get engaged. And that's what happened. He did a kiddush in the shul. Everyone told him Mazal Tov, Mazal Tov, Mazal Tov. They gave him a lot of brachot, and he was able to find a zivuk for his daughter. So you see that the power of people saying Mazal Tov, what a bracha I brought. Can you imagine, Chas v'Shalom, the opposite? If a person says something negative, he says something negative about somebody else, and he speaks down about somebody else, how much power those words have. So a person has to make sure that you have to go out of your way to not speak Lashon Hara, especially about other people's simchas. A lot of times people make events. He comes to the event, he sees people spend top dollar to make it nice. It's ugly. I don't like it. Look. Chaval HaKesef, waste of money. What is all this that he did? What does it help to speak to another person about it? Maybe if it bothers you, maybe speak to the Baal Simcha and say, hey, next time, maybe we shouldn't spend so much money. It's a waste of money. Or, I a very nice brit you made, but if I made a brit, I would have made it a different way. You don't have to go and, what does it help to go speak to another person next to you just to bash the guy's event? Let the guy enjoy. Why is it, you have nothing better to say, so you have to speak Lashon Hara about the guy's event? Oh, this is extra. Why do you spend so much on this? Look, so ugly. The food is no good. What does it help to speak all this nonsense to other people? If you want to be constructive, speak to the guy who owns the party. Speak to the guy who made the party. What does it help to speak to your neighbor, to your friend about the simcha? It's not going to change anything. You're just spreading Lashon Hara, making the Baal Simcha look bad in everybody's eyes. So therefore, a person has to make sure not to fall into this trap. If you have nothing good to say, that's when you're going to fall into this. So therefore, you got to prepare. When you go to those simchas, you got to prepare something good to say at the table and not fall into this trap. Baruch Na'olam. Amen.